But if you notice, Stephen Fry says it's painfully funny and Jonathan Ross says it's heartbreaking. So either Stephen Fry is a complete psychopath or there is layers to this book, which of course there is. Hello and welcome to another episode. So today I want to talk about This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. Now, I have previously talked about this book on an old video. I think it was summer last year. So coming up to about sort of 10 months ago now. But as I said on that video, it was probably my most favorite read. It was probably my favorite read of 2021. To be honest, it was in the top 3 of my favorite reads ever. I loved it so much. It was my sort of pick down to a T. Now, if you're in the UK, you will have definitely seen advertised the TV adaptation that came out a few weeks prior to the recording of this video. Now, they did put out the first episode and then run it weekly. I believe it's still going on, but they also put on the entire series on iPlayer, so you can binge the whole thing through. I love it when they do that. So I managed to get through it pretty quickly. Now, after talking to a lot of friends and family who this was their first encounter with This Is Going to Hurt through the TV adaptation, they were talking about how great it was, and I was saying, yeah, the show's fantastic. Ben Whishaw is amazing, obviously, and the entire cast, and it's just done so well, but you must read the book because the book's phenomenal. So it got me sort of thinking, and I thought that since the TV adaptation has recently been released, I'll go back and talk about how much I love the book and the audiobook version. As it's sort of relevant now, as it's come back into the mainstream, I thought it'd be nice to chat about it some more. So going on about 3 months ago, when I first saw that there was going to be a TV adaptation coming out really soon, I said to my partner, I'm going to reread the book, I'm going to get myself back into that world as a sort of building up excitement to watch the TV adaptation. Now, what I ended up deciding to do was, since this is a predominantly audiobook related channel, is I thought it'd be better to actually listen to the audiobook version rather than reread the paperback, which I have here. Rather than reread this little old thing, I would download the audiobook and give that a go, since it's narrated by Adam Kay as well. So what I did was, during a trip to London that I was planning for work, I downloaded it. It's only about 5-6 hours long, and I smashed it while walking around London, and oh my god, was it joyous. I don't know whether it was because it was going on sort of 10 months since I'd last read the book, so obviously you forget parts of it. I definitely forgot how much I enjoyed it. It was such a blast, this book. But the audiobook version was just fantastic. It really gave that performance area. It sort of gave context, a lot more context to the stories, and it really amped up that humour. So just very quickly, if you don't know what This Is Going to Hurt is, oh my god, go out and read it now. Either read it, go listen to the audiobook and then watch the TV adaptation, because you'll appreciate it way more, much like, if you do that order with anything. But if you notice, Stephen Fry says it's painfully funny and Jonathan Ross says it's heartbreaking. So either Stephen Fry is a complete psychopath or there is layers to this book, which of course there is. Now, much like a lot of the things I've been reading recently, This Is Going to Hurt is a diary in a diary format. So essentially, Adam Kay when we meet Adam Kay in this story, he is a junior doctor, and he's been advised to keep a medical journal, or just a journal to jot down his thoughts and feelings and what goes on in the day, for multiple reasons, really. One, just for sanity, and second of all, just in case he needs to recall anything, if something goes wrong and he needs to recall it, which, may or may not be a good thing. He can look back at the day and see what's going on and stuff. But essentially, because Adam Kay is naturally just such a funny guy, a lot of the diary entries, to be honest, most of them are hilarious. The things that he comes across, the people, the things that they say, the things that they shove up, the mind boggles, really, to be honest. I don't want to spoil any of the stories and stuff, and also Adam Kay does them more justice than me retelling them on this episode. But yeah, it's just perfect. But going back to how layered this book is, so during this book, Adam Kay is a junior doctor. He's working on the obs and gynae ward. He's in labour ward, and all that fun stuff. And essentially, as with any sort of medical thing, that there's going to be a lot of sad stuff and a lot of serious stuff and heartbreak in there as well, due to that's the world that we live in. So what you have is these diary entries where they are just laugh out loud funny. I mean, seriously, while I was listening to the audiobook on the train, I must have looked like somebody, because I was just expelling laughter while on the train. It's just amazing. But then comes a diary entry where he talks about how rough and hard his day has been, talks about some awful situations with patients and just heartbreaking stuff going on. And the next thing you know, you're completely in tears. It's a crazy roller coaster of a ride. Now, one of the reasons I think why this book stuck to me, because I read a lot of funny books and I really like comedy in books, especially in biographies or, diary accounts of people's lives. I think it's just great and really interesting. And I think it was more prominent as well during the pandemic because obviously, you really felt for the key workers out there, the doctors and the care workers and, just basically any key worker out there. You sort of heart went out to them. Now, I don't have any family in the medical industry. I don't have any doctors or anything like that or nurses in my family. So I was completely unaware, really, of what a day's like or what it's actually like to work as a doctor in the NHS here in the UK. The thing that stuck out to me with this book was just how hard those guys work. I mean, that's not obviously a surprise, but you never really appreciate it until you hear a day-by-day account and what these guys have to put up with, and it's mind-blowing. So one of the things that you get from reading this book or listening to the audiobook, and as well as the TV adaptation, which I'll talk about in a second, you just get this immense, first of all, pride of the NHS, but then second of all, you think, how on earth are these people able to keep it up? I mean, the hours that the doctors work, the things that they have to put up with, and that goes with everyone in a hospital, it's just, you have no idea how they manage to keep going. It also talks about a really scary statistic where every 3 weeks there's a doctor or a nurse that commits suicide, that takes their own life. And to be honest, and as funny, as wonderful and entertaining the book is, you can definitely understand why. It reaches some really dark places that stay with you. Some of the stories from the labour ward and things with babies and complications with births and the parents and the reactions and stuff. It can get really dark. So you may have noticed there that I started off by saying how hilarious it was, and then it took quite a serious turn. And that is essentially what the book is. And that's why on the front cover you have hilarious and also heartbreaking, because it is both, and it is both kind of all the time. One of the things that the book does really well, what Adam does really well in his writing, is that it really levels out the kind of peaks and troughs of life. So you'll be up here, some hilarious story, where someone said something really funny, or something it's sort of painless and non-serious, but is kind of amusing, has happened to a patient or whatever. And then that just sort of dips, and that something awful happens, and he talks about his feelings and opens up about how these horrendous emergencies affect his life and affect his personal life, his relationship, all that sort of stuff. And then it sort of does a really good job to make its way back to lightheartedness again. So it really does ride that wave out there. So you are left with like a full experience. Now, moving on to the TV adaptation. Now, this, as I've said, is a diary entry sort of thing. So there's no real clear narrative because it's someone's life. It's someone retelling things that have happened during their day. That wouldn't necessarily work with a TV adaptation, as I'm sure you can agree. So there is a more strict narrative there. There's some characters added in, of course. It's not a direct copy of the book. There are obviously the majority of crazy things and kind of funny things that happen in the book. They are placed in the TV adaptation. And to be honest, they don't even seem to be ramped up that much. It seems to be a really realistic account. And from, looking on Twitter and Instagram and things from actual NHS workers, they're saying that finally there's a great adaptation of something that's realistic and really relates well to what their actual working day is like. Another thing that I really liked about the TV adaptation as well is how unlikable Adam is as an actual person. Now, bear with me. So he's going through this, horrendous stuff, all these emergencies and dealing with death on a daily basis and on this sort of cutthroat environment. So naturally you have to be hard-skinned and he's naturally quick-witted, and that sort of shows in his dialogue as well. But I saw a comment on Twitter. Somebody reached out to him and said, "Why are you so unlikable in the adaptation? Are you genuinely just an arse? Or, is there some reason why you've made yourself so unlikable?" And he came out with a really good reply. And this will help anybody writing anything around these sort of topics. And essentially, he was saying that the duties that you have to perform as a doctor, as a nurse, working in the NHS, the duties that you have to perform are heroic. There's no second word about it. You are doing angel's work, if you will. So if you made him really likable, made his personality perfect, and made him, have the patience of a saint, and the rest of it, it would be quite a boring character, because you just walk away from the show thinking, well, no one's really that perfect, no one's that amazing. So he said to create a more interesting depth of a character arc, he put a lot more of his own personality in there and made him sort of snarky and sarcastic and really affected from the day job, really, which I thought was a really, really great explanation for why Adam, the character, acts the way he does during the show. It makes it so much more interesting. It adds so much depth to the character and makes him way more sort of relatable, really. It also does a really good job to show the strain that being a key worker can put on your family life and your relationships and stuff. I mean, I think we all sort of sit there and think, oh, I wonder if I could be a doctor, or I wonder if I could cope with those things. And then the show sort of reminds you that, oh no, it's best that I'm doing what I'm doing, because I would make a mess of it, and I do not have the sort of capacity to put up with a lot of the things that these guys put up with. So yeah, if this is the first time you're hearing about this, then thank you for staying this long through this rambly video. Just go out and do it. Just go out and consume this book in whatever way you see fit. The paperback or hardback, the written version, the actual book, is wonderful, and that's how I first came across it all. The audiobook, I would so recommend the audiobook, just because of that added performance aspect to it, with Adam narrating it. It just adds so much context and adds that sort of flavour. And there's a lot of sort of sarcasm and really quick-witted responses written in, and it just sort of helps understand sort of how he's saying it when he's actually reading it. So there's that. And then go and check out the TV adaptation, because it's great. You really do not get bored of these stories, although it is heavily based off of the book. It is not, it really is a different version I was going to say a different version of the same story. It's sort of the same version of a different story, if that makes any sense at all. I don't think it does. But yeah, I think we will leave it there before I ramble on the rest of the day. So thank you so much for checking out this video. Please feel free to check out any of the other videos on this channel. I have some really cool interviews coming up on this channel, part of the Audiobook Club. I have a really good author, Marlena Fiol. I'm going to be interviewing her in a few weeks, and also a fantastic audiobook narrator, Tom Jordan. So yeah, stick around for those. But that will about do us for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.